Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Your support means a lot to us. We are so happy to do the podcast every week, and I really mean it when I say it means a lot to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. With great pleasure, let me welcome Vani Suryaprakash back to our podcast for yet another great week. Vani Suryaprakash is an internationally accredited coach and a soft skill trainer. And another feather in her cap is that she's a certified image consultant as well. RIVA Coaching is very proud to welcome back Vani Suryaprakash. Welcome, Vani.
Good day, all. Thank you so much, MJ. And every week it brings great happiness and joy whenever I step in for this podcast. It just gives me a sense of excitement. And as always, I'm very much looking forward to share and talk about important topics. It is a great platform, and I really appreciate the effort. Thank you. Thank you again.
You're so welcome. And yes, as you said, we are trying our best to put forward the best foot forward. And getting you as part of our podcast is a blessing in disguise for us. So thank you once again. And with that, let us now just step back, and as always, we will do a time travel and check out what we were discussing last week: symptoms of self victimization at personal life. We spoke about 10 different symptoms of self victimization at personal life, starting from blaming others, not taking responsibility, not able to move on, being alone, and few other points as well. What I would suggest to our listeners is those who have not yet listened to the last episode to just go back and listen to episode number 5, but do it after you finish this current episode. So now let us get on to the present day, and Vani, the stage is all yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, MJ, for setting the stage. And yes, episode number 6 is going to be pretty important because we have seen what a self victimization at personal life means and
Mhm.
its symptoms. Of course, there has to be a solution to it, right? So, this
Yeah.
week we will be looking into how to overcome the self victimization. What are the tips or suggestions that I could give from my end?
Wow, that's pretty cool. So last week we discussed the symptoms, and this week you are going to give us the remedy. Great.
So, on that note, MJ, as always, I'm just going to share bite sized information so that it's not overwhelming for the listeners as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of overcoming self victimization, it's a challenging but critical step towards personal growth and well being. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, in terms of taking action, it is always challenging, right? We don't want to get out of a comfort zone.
Yep.
However, it is still critical, as I said, in terms of honing your skills, having a step forward in terms of personal growth and well being. Here are
Mm-hmm.
some tips to help you or anyone struggling with self victimization in their personal life.
Okay.
Uh, First and foremost, I would say, is recognizing the pattern. This I also put it in terms of when I coach people, I ask them the pattern of occurrence.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just a one-time event. For example, you are just finishing your examination and you score low.
Mm-hmm.
If it is just one time, it's absolutely okay to a
Mm-hmm.
certain extent. Whereas if a particular subject consistently you have scored low, irrespective of whatever you do, then
Mm-hmm.
that is a pattern of occurrence.
Okay.
Similarly, in terms of victimizing, self victimizing per se, the first step is to become aware of your self victimizing tendencies.
Okay.
So start paying attention to your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors to identify when you're falling into the victim mindset.
Okay.
Self awareness is essential for initiating any change because until and unless we are aware, we will not be ready to accept and take that next step.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So identify your pattern of occurrence and then start acknowledging them and then think about what to do about it. So
Mm-hmm.
that is the first and foremost tip that I would like to give.
Okay.
Okay. And the second one, very much relatable and also the opposite of what we saw as symptoms, which is nothing
Mm-hmm.
but taking responsibility, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
In symptoms, we saw one of the symptoms is not taking responsibility. So, of
Yeah.
course, the solution has to be taking responsibility.
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, when we are self aware and when we know what is happening, the next step is to be responsible for it and overcome it. So, taking responsibility has two parts to it. Accept that you have control over your reactions and actions.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else can control you. And if you feel so, which means you have given the remote of your life to somebody else. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So accept that you have the control. Acknowledge that while some situations may be challenging, you have the power to choose how you respond and cope with them. And when I say respond, recently one of my guru was talking about this very interesting topic of react versus respond. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm just sharing my insight, which might help all the listeners as well,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how they could get away with victimization. See, as human, it is not possible for us to always tend to respond in all situations. Not all days are similar, right? There might
Yeah.
be days, there might be situations where we react.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, what I would say is it is absolutely fine that you are reacting. Don't beat yourself for that. Just because you reacted in one or two instances, you just gave up everything and then you yelled at somebody or you've become aggressive, you have become restless. It's absolutely okay. There might be a day, there might be a situation where we tend to react. So don't beat yourself up for that. Be kind to yourself. And on that note, I would say don't justify as well. Okay. And when we
Mm-hmm.
say this, people tend to think, okay, then let me start justifying, giving reasons why I kind of react and do react for every situation. Please don't do that as well.
Mm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Instead, when you are in a better state of mind, sit calm and just introspect to see what made you react and how different would you like to do given the same situation. Just play it in your mind and see what you wanted to do differently.
Okay.
This will help you understand where your trigger is, and also it will slowly move the needle from react to respond. And as I said, absolutely fine. Even after doing so much, if you're reacting 1 out of 100 instances, it's absolutely okay.
Got it.
And on that note, I'll give you the third tip for the day, which is nothing but challenge the negative thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever negative or self-pitying thoughts arise, because that again leads to self-victimization, right? Start
Yeah.
challenging them.
Mm-hmm.
Ask yourself if these thoughts are based on evidences, which means are they fact, or if they are just exaggerations or something comes from your belief. Try to reframe them into more balanced and rational perspectives.
Okay.
And on that note, I'm going to tip 4, which again is very much interlinked, which is nothing but seeking support. Remember our story of Sarah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So start seeking support. If you're not able to make rational perspectives, of course, seek support to get some insights, get some guidance,
Mm-hmm.
which is nothing but talking to a friend, a family, or a coach about your feelings and struggles might help you.
Mm-hmm.
They needn't even give you solutions. At times, if there are people who are ready to listen, use them as a soundboard, which will give you a lot of insights and understanding of how or what you wanted to do next.
Okay.
Okay. Having a support system is kind of provides you with different perspectives and help you gain insights into your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we are conditioned in few communities or groups that asking help or support means we are weak, we are not capable enough. These are all absolutely not true. It is
Okay.
okay to ask and seek support.
Okay.
Okay. And on that, let me go to the next tip, which is set realistic goals. Very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, you wanted to shed weight. It cannot happen overnight where you are just reduced by 30 kgs. That can never happen. Okay. Even Harry Potter's and Hermione Granger's cannot do that. So definitely not us. So start setting realistic goals. Break down your larger goals into smaller, achievable steps. Celebrate your progress. Again, acknowledgement, appreciation. Don't seek it from the external world. Start celebrating your small steps that you take, your progress that you do, and avoid self-criticism if you face setbacks.
Okay.
Don't beat yourself up. Understand that setbacks are a normal part of the journey and not a reflection of your worth.
Oh, okay. Got it. Mhm.
And the final tip for the day would be practice gratitude. Shift your focus from what you lack to what you have. This is very, very important and very beautiful, right? Instead of cribbing that, okay, I did not get a 10% hike this year. Yes, it is hard to digest that. However, that is the reality. Let's at least be grateful that I did not lose the job given the situation in market today where many people with potential are losing their jobs,
Hmm.
right? So be grateful to what you have. When I say be grateful to what you have, again, I'm not asking you to set your expectations low, your goals low, or in terms of compromise for things. That is not the intent.
Mhm.
After putting all the effort, one or two might not exactly turn out the way you wanted. It's absolutely okay. Just take the learning and be grateful for the learnings that you have got.
Okay.
Regularly practice gratitude by acknowledging the positive aspects of your life.
Mhm.
And at least during COVID, this was one of the key things that many people would have faced, right? In my family, I didn't have any frontline worker. They are happy, I am happy. I'm grateful for all the frontline workers out there who are trying to protect us. Instead of cribbing in terms of being locked up in a lockdown, I'm
Mhm.
happy that I am living under a roof where I'm so safe and protected. I have 3 meals a day. Of course, there were opportunities for me to try new recipes from YouTube and other stuff.
Mhm.
So start seeing the positive aspects. And I'm not asking you to be ideal for that matter, being idealistic for that matter. Let's be realistic at the same time. Let us enjoy the moment. Let's see the positive things.
Okay.
This can help counteract feelings of victimhood.
Okay.
Looking back at these steps, I have just now given only a part of it. Only a part of it.
Okay. Mhm.
Okay, it's just an initial step, set of tips, and I don't want to give the rest right in today's episode because it's not just about listening. It is also about putting things into action. And I really don't want to overwhelm our listeners in terms of putting things into action. Let's keep it
Okay.
simple and precise. We'll
Mhm.
continue the other set of tips maybe the next episode, MJ.
Mhm.
With your permission, I'm just calling this out here.
Yeah, no problem. Definitely. I understand that. In fact, I appreciate the thought that you have right now because each of us will need time to process about the tips that you have given. We need time to ponder the thoughts in our minds. Surely, we will continue on the same topic next week as well. And I'm very sure that our listeners will also agree to this.
Yeah, yeah. The point of having these discussions, as I said, is not merely just passing on a topic or ticking the box. It's more in terms of the intent that matters the most rather than the content. So I really want people to put things into action and help themselves with these tips.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, intent is what matters the most. You are bang on right. And for the benefit of our listeners, and particularly for me, let me just recap the tips that were discussed today, starting with recognizing the pattern, then taking responsibility, challenge the negative thoughts, seek support, set goals that are realistic, and finally, practice gratitude.
Yes. Great, great, MJ. As always, we are just putting these thoughts out, and it is up to each one of them who are listening to the podcast to just sit back and just do an introspection to themselves. that will add great value to themselves, their thoughts, and also people around them.
Well, once again, Vani, you have given us a lot to think about and ponder over the week. Thank you once again so much for your time. And every time you're adding more value to our podcast.
Thank you, MJ. Each week I feel very excited to be part of this podcast. I really wish that whatever we are doing here will have an effect to each of our listeners.
Absolutely. That's going to be there. And on that very positive note, let's move on to the quote of the week section. Life is a journey filled with both sunny days and storms. Choosing to embrace the sunshine within ourselves allows us to radiate positivity even when the skies are gray.
Wow. That's an apt quote for the content that we have just spoken today, MJ, highlighting the importance of being positive. Great. Thank you once again to all the listeners, and thank you, MJ, for providing a great way to express myself to a great number of people. Thanks a lot.
You're most welcome. It will always be a great pleasure to have you in our podcast. So, folks, once again, we are at the end of yet another fantabulous episode. And as always, give your support by commenting in the comment section. Share the content across the latitudes and longitudes of our planet. On that geographical note, let me wrap up episode number 6, and we will be back in 7 more days. And we will be continuing the tips of overcoming self victimization at personal life. Till then, be good, do good, and stay good. Have a great rest of the week.